Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spincast. Today, we are going back into the production and casting side of things, more behind the scenes of the actual playing in esports, as you all know we do often. Today, we are joined by Hunter Shifty Pendygraft. He is a community caster, done a lot of great work in the Call of Duty scene with MLG, MES, and a number of other companies across the last 5 years. So without further ado, Hunter Shifty, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about your background, where your passion started in casting, and especially with Call of Duty, and how that took you through MLG, MES, into where you are now today.
Hi, I'm Hunter. Like he said, I normally go by Shifty. I've been in and around the esports community for over half a decade now. We were talking about off camera, I am 23 years old. I've been in and around esports, whether it was Call of Duty. Halo was really the first game that kind of piqued my interest. I think I was about 15 or 16. And I've kind of progressed from there. Really and truly, I'm a community caster, which means I really don't know what I do in the esports environment. I think it's I kind of fill holes wherever holes need to be filled, whether it's producing, running a stream, or commentating, or I mean, sometimes even tournament admin. So I've done that as well. So it's been a progression that started as a player. I played under a couple organizations back in 2015, 2016. Like Wild Gaming, who had just sent a team to Call of Duty Champions, the championships tournaments. Right after that, my team got picked up. I really sucked, so that was the big thing. And I learned that if you can't play, then you should consider casting. And I kind of went into it from there. Really and truly, I had no idea that I was going to kind of get to this point when it comes to commentating. I picked it up as something that I did for fun because I had a vested interest in the game, and here we are. So yeah, hi, that's me. That's my long-winded introduction. I've been around for a minute, watched the community kind of explode and implode and expand and how it has. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, 100%. Glad to have you on the show. My first question for you more specifically is take us through that beginning stages of casting, right? You said started off as kind of being just a fun hobby type thing, and now here you are pretty successful. Take us through those steps of like how you started to refine your craft and really improve into what you are today.
Well, and I'll preface by saying that if anyone wants to pick up commentating, the biggest thing that you have to have is a vested interest in what you're doing. So, because I think really and truly, I mean, even the most shy of people can have conversations about things that they're really interested in, right? So I think kind of coming at it with that vested interest is what got me started into it. I think every player, when they start playing, they also like to watch, and I think that's kind of how you learn the craft. For me, back in Advanced Warfare, it was actually so that was 2015, I believe. 2015. I kind of so I actually started as an MLG TV partner, like back when MLG.TV was a thing, when they were competing with Twitch. And I started there and actually ended up solo casting and streaming a couple smaller organizations tournaments that they had been hosting in Call of Duty, and that's actually kind of what got me started. I did it solo, which commentating solo is very difficult, especially for someone who's kind of brand new to the scene. But it is a phenomenal way to start because you never truthfully know how much you know about the game until you have to single-handedly man a stream. So that's where I started. I started streaming those tournaments. I commentated and adminned those tournaments. People tended to come back with positive feedback, said, hey, you seem to kind of know what you're talking about. You should try doing this more. And then actually my first, I guess, quote unquote, big break was with Perfect Alliance, which was a big amateur Call of Duty organization at the beginning of 2016. And then that led into into the female pro league. I commentated for the female pro Call of Duty league for about 6 or 7 months as well. So really and truly, I kind of took off very quickly. And I'm very lucky for that. But I think a lot of it has to do with that vested interest that I was talking about. So really and truly, honing the craft is really easy. It's just doing it a bunch of times. I think that, and the more situations you see and kind of the ability to think on your feet while you do it, that kind of comes with time. So I think my big thing with getting started was just putting my name in the hat and actually doing it. After you network correctly a little bit on Twitter, especially, which is where a majority of the esports communities kind of live.
For sure.
After marketing yourself correctly, you'll have opportunities that kind of come. And to me, that was where I got started because, like I said, some random small tournament organization hit me up and was like, hey, would you like to stream our matches? And I said, absolutely. So that's kind of where I got started. It all just, like I said, kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely love that kind of like slow, or not slow, but gradual build up, right? Going from small, tiny, no namers to, big time.
Right, absolutely.
That kind of stuff. I love to see that growth because I think you hit a lot of important points on that I want to touch on is that, taking that leap of faith to just do it and then building your network and your marketing off of it, right? I think that's something that's massively overlooked. Like opportunities don't just arise out of thin air. And especially in the esports world, like you have to make sure that you're growing your brand personally, right? Having the networking, especially on Twitter, that's where everything happens in esports, all the drama, all the networking, all the good stuff.
Oh yeah.
All the bad stuff too.
Love it.
Twitter is a beast in itself, definitely for esports. But yeah, a couple of things I want to ask you a couple questions on. The production side of things, right? You said that you operated your own streams and casted solo. And then you've also, done work for MLG and MES, where I'm sure they have their own production crew behind you as well. So speak to some of the differences and the intricacies between the two in your experience.
Oh, wow. What a great question. So the biggest thing from being a solo producer / commentator is all of the stuff that you have to keep straight. Like, I don't know if anyone who has ever produced a stream of any kind, whether it's your own stream or whether it's an organization stream or, whatever, there's a lot of pieces that go into that, whether it's getting graphics made for every single thing and then having to update those graphics on the run. There's a reason that, like, when you go to MLG or when you go to MES, which I'm glad you highlighted, there's entire teams of production people. I mean, when I went to MES, we had separate producers, one that was running the stream, one that was kind of feeding us our feedback live as we went. We had a makeup team, so we had to get makeup and, the whole thing because we were going to be on camera. There's a whole lot of intricacies that go into when you have an entire production team, and it really sucks when you do it by yourself because you miss that. And that's one thing that I think really changes because I've been to multiple LAN tournaments. My very first LAN tournament, I solo casted and solo produced. So it was about 13 hours of hard work. I mean, it was hard work. I mean, you were constantly doing something, whether it was trying to find a way to transition in from one match to another, commentating the actual match itself, or then on top of that, having another screen pulled up to manage the Twitch chat and, all of the graphics in your OBS or your Streamlabs or whatever you're using. It's the unsung heroes of all of the production squad are the ones that never end up with the high amounts of followers on Twitter, which I think is terrible because those people deserve as much recognition as the people who are being the quote unquote faces of the brand. And they never do. So if you're a football person, they are the offensive line of production. They are whereas the casters and the players are your quarterback and your running back and your wide receivers. The ones down getting dirty, doing the grit, those are your production guys, and they are extremely talented, especially when you go up to the high level. So I was nowhere near that level. So I'm really glad that I've been able to push to a position where I have somebody doing the production now. But yeah, the level of intricacies going from a solo cast to having someone producing.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of similarities, but the biggest thing is that you have to do it all yourself. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to do it all yourself. That's the big thing. But yeah, it's definitely great to go up to where someone else can handle all the background stuff. So there's no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Going to agree more is that like it just starts to scale itself, right? And I think it's also really great for esports in general is that the more production, the bigger the production team, the more you can do with production, right? When you're solo casting, solo producing, managing the stream, you can only do so much, right?
You forget to change a number in the round count or whatever, and then everybody in the Twitch chat starts roasting you, but you don't realize that they don't realize that you're the only person doing it all. So yeah, it opens up for a whole nother a whole lot more doors open up. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. I know. Like, I mean, the production team that we do for our events is about 4 people, and we probably have 60 to 80 moving pieces of the stream, and 4 people. Like that takes all the effort of 4 people to manage all those pieces.
Oh yeah.
And with one person, that's almost impossible, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We got big time productions like MLG or like Pro League in different games right now in Tier 1. They probably have 800 moving pieces all at once.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. So I absolutely love to see that you kind of separated the two, especially for the audience. My next question would be kind of more of a request. Give us that day-to-day of that big time casting, right? With MES, MLG, when you have that team behind you, what do those days look like at those LANs or at those online events to give our audience just a better picture of what everything behind the scenes kind of looks like that they don't get to see on camera because the players are on camera?
That's another great question. So like, for example, on days that we did MES, you normally get there pretty early. So tournament matches tended to start on Fridays. That was where your pool play started. So like your opening matches, your open bracket, your higher seeded teams kind of doing their scrims. That normally started on Friday afternoon. So we normally got there on Thursday to kind of go over pre-production stuff for the first day of the stream. I know when I went, we got there Thursday afternoon and kind of went over things preliminarily, said, okay, this is going to be where the caster's booth is. If you guys need anything, this is where the production booth is going to be, all that stuff. Excuse me. But the big thing is the pre-production stuff. So like I said, Thursday afternoon, we got there. Friday, the matches would start at like 5 p.m. They started pretty late because that was when registrations were all done that morning and check-ins. And, if you have 120 teams at 4 players a pop, that's a lot of people to try and manage. So they don't start until later that afternoon. But our day started normally in the morning. About 11 is when I would normally get up and go down there a couple hours before we started doing the registration stuff, so we could walk over what matches we were going to have on stream, what are the key talking points for these matches, stuff like that. But then after the tournament gets going, it's really you're kind of like an on-call worker is the biggest thing, because a lot of times with like those big LANs, you'll have a casting group of 5 or 6 people that all kind of trade out to make sure that not one person is on stream too much or, gets hoarse because of it or whatever. So you're kind of like an on-call person. And a majority of the time too, though, like I said, going back to that vested interest you have to have in the game, a lot of time when you're not working, you're spectating, you're watching, you're on the floor with the players or the other casters or the analysts or whatever, and kind of still talking about the game. So even when you're not working, you're working. It just doesn't feel like it. But you're kind of like an on-call, like a nurse is the only thing I could compare it to, in terms of like, you may be up in your hotel room trying to grab a snack or grab a nap or whatever. And the second that they need you on that deck, it's no longer about you. It's about the, thousands of people that are watching you do it. So it's no longer about what you want to do. You go get your McDonald's and eat very quickly and come back so you're ready to cast at 6 p.m. or whatever. So it's the day-to-day life is honestly just like going to an event. You'll meet a lot of super cool people. You'll get to watch a lot of a really good game of whatever your respective game is, whether it's COD or League of Legends or Halo or whatever you want to do. You'll meet all kinds of great people. You'll meet all kinds of terrible people at the same time. There's kind of a dichotomy you draw there with what's cancerous and what's great there.
Yep.
But other than that, besides the fact that you kind of have a job to do, beyond that, it's just like going to a LAN. If you've ever been to a LAN or a tournament, you know the vibes you get. It's awesome. But the only difference was when they were texting my phone saying, "Hey, you're up next on the casters booth." I had to drop everything I was doing and get up there. So that tends to be the biggest thing, is that people forget that it's not about you. It's not about what you want to do at that time. It's about like I said, the thousands of people that are watching you, giving the money to the organizations that which in turn you get paid with. So, you know, you gotta balance the fun with the work aspect of it. But to be honest, in a weekend long, if you're commentating an entire tournament, you're never not working.
Yeah.
That goes true with production. That goes true with, you know, everything. But especially on the casting side, you are always working, whether it's off stream taking notes and, you know, having talking points for the next matches or whatever. You're constantly doing something.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And I think, like, it sounds like you're always part of the experience as well, right? Because even the pre-match, taking the notes, all that kind of stuff, you still have to watch the games, interact with the players. So, like, you can commentate about their personalities, their team approach, all of that kind of stuff. So, like, absolutely love to see that. That's exactly what the casters are doing. You told the audience that same thing. So incredible there. Always love to see that. Speaking about community, you touched way back more near the start of this. About the community. You've seen it grow up, down, up, down. You know, you've been exposed to the good, the bad. You've done work with the women's league, which obviously, you know, sexism in esports is a problem, right?
Absolutely.
We're trying to fix it, right? But it takes time. So talk about the community that you've been exposed to, some of the experiences that might pop in your head, even better specifically with the women's league that you've done work with, to kind of show the good of the esports community and how it's, you know, trending the right way, but there's work to be had.
Trending the right way, I think, is I think that's a hopeful statement.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it is going in the right direction now that we're starting to get a little bit more exposure on it. And I always tell people that I was like one of the esports hipsters. Like I was doing it before it was cool. Like, cause I was back in it when, you know, now Twitch streamers and stuff like that are like super famous, and you know I've been around it since when we were still getting called nerds. So like, you know, it's I have seen it grow in a positive direction, I think, and honestly, believe it or not, I agree that sexism in esports is a very prevalent topic, whether you're talking about at the professional level, whether you're talking about at the content creation level, or whatever. But I will say that a lot of that positive growth that I saw actually came in the female pro league. I saw a lot of people, granted, I saw some people that were like, oh, you know, females just can't play COD or whatever. You know, that's bound to happen. I'm not, you know, it's terrible, but it's bound to happen. But honestly, which is surprising, in my opinion, I saw a lot more of the opposite. I saw a lot more people that were opening up to the idea of all women's teams and even co-ed teams. In fact, a lot of times I saw the most prevalent conversation that I had with one of my female co-casters who worked on that league. Her name is Lemon Kiwi Jen. She is awesome. She commentates the Overwatch League now. She is a peach to work with. But one thing that her and I always talked about was transitioning that female pro league into just a semi-pro co-ed league, and kind of taking away the whole women need to be separate on their own kind of you know, boat, like the WNBA or you know, your female sports. So it's cool, and especially with esports, because you have so many females that are doing this all the time, and they don't get the type of recognition that maybe some of the male players get. So it was really cool to kind of walk both lines, being a male that was involved so heavily in that league. It was very cool. I have seen the community grow and implode on itself on multiple occasions. I think a lot of that has to do with the commonality of the reception of the game, because a lot of times if the game isn't quite as good, because, you know, Call of Duty gets updated and changed every year. Exactly. But the thing about it is based on the reception of that game, I think is kind of how the community changes. Here recently, though, with the last 2 games being Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare, I've kind of seen the negative reception of that game not affect the growth of the community, which I think is a huge step forward, because I think we are finally starting to get some more limelight on these esports players, and we're starting to kind of see them develop more. And if that's happening, then it doesn't really matter of what the reception of the game is, because they'll still be around for the next one.
Exactly.
So I think we're going in a positive direction. I really do. But I've definitely seen the underbelly of it as well. And, with every community, there's always going to be some stinkers. And unfortunately, the stinkers just tend to speak louder than the ones who are going with the flow. But that's part of it. And I will say I've met a lot more awesome people. To kind of finalize it, I've met a lot more awesome people than I have terrible people in the esports community, because on Twitter, which, like we've said, is the main way people communicate, if I don't like you, I'm just not going to read your tweets. I'm just gonna block you or ignore you or whatever. So and I think that's part of it too, is picking your community. I think you can get into as cancerous of a community as you want to, but it's all about who you choose to surround yourself with.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more with a lot of those points there. Is, going back to the women, seeing kind of foster itself and hopefully moving towards that co-ed where there isn't those blocks, right? I think it's fantastic they have their own platform, because right now I think a lot of women kind of get pushed to the side because of those sexism issues. And this, when they have their own platform, it gives them the opportunity to play at that highest level and get the viewership and the platform, right, to expand, like you were saying. So couldn't agree more there. I love seeing the community. I think, a lot of the issues in COD is because it cycles so fast, like you said. But I think every game does that. Maybe it's not a new game, it's a new meta. And then you use players, because then, a lot of game devs, they kind of just break games sometimes.
Yeah, no, I'm with it, yeah.
So it's just like that cycle. I like to see that cycle not controlling the entire community anymore, right? People stick with it, stick it out, and then there for them when the game gets back to where it was, or even better. So love to see that.
But one thing I will comment, sorry, not to interrupt you. One thing I will comment on is you brought up the developers, which I think is such a small, it is such a big piece of it that is not talked about enough. But like you have like Treyarch and Infinity Ward now, who, and again, this just kind of shows the positive trajectory of how esports is growing. We have now developers that are bringing in pro players to play their pre-alpha and say, hey, how does this feel? What do we need to change? Because they know that the pros are going to be putting a whole lot more time into it than your test groups are. And it's important to get that other half of input. I mean, you look at a game like Counter-Strike, where that game is geared towards the competitive player and then the casual player follows. And we see how important that game has become in terms of paving the way for first-person shooters as a whole. So it's really awesome to see the developers. Big shout out to Treyarch and Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer and all of those developers that are bringing in the competitive players to kind of get that other side of the same coin. So sorry, not to interrupt you, but but that was the point I needed to make, is that that is part of the reason why it is increasing. I think.
100%. Again, I keep saying I can't agree more, but I really can't, because developers control the game which we play. That's the platform. It literally is the platform. And without their entire support and that holistic view, right? Okay, what is our test team looking at? Let's get the pros, right? And let's bring in some content creators too, right? Really get a whole picture, which a lot of them are now, like you were saying, Treyarch and the others that you mentioned. They are doing that, which just helps so much, because then ultimately you get this really beautiful picture of what the game could be, and then they can develop and change and tweak and balance, and then boom, you have a beautiful game everyone loves. The casuals love it, competitors love it, pros love it, everyone's happy, right? So couldn't agree more. We are unfortunately running out of time, which absolutely stinks, because I've loved our conversation. I will leave you with one parting quick question. What advice would you have for a younger, let's say high school student, right, that is interested in casting the production side of things? What's one quick piece of advice that you have to give to them to help them boost them on their path to success?
It sounds corny, but love what you do. Take that vested interest in whatever you're doing, whether it's running a stream or talking about a game or whatever, and run with it. And network. Network. That's the other thing too. I mean, dude, if it boils down to you sending a DM to every single person that follows you and say, hey, here's my link, here, check this out, or check this out. Eventually, one of those times, someone will listen. So the vested interest, love what you do, and never look back, and never let someone tell you that you can't do it either.
Yep, absolutely love to hear that. I think that's a really great step as well. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Fantastic discussion on this little mini podcast. Hunter, Shifty, tell us real quick, plug yourself, where we can find you, your Twitch stream, or any of your platforms. Tell us where we can find you if you want to learn a little bit more about you.
First off, shout out to the guys over at Stay Plugged In. Thank you, Kyle, for putting together a really awesome interview. Thank you, Nick, for reaching out to me on the side of Stay Plugged In as well. Follow them on Twitter and make sure that we keep up with the guys over at Stay Plugged In. For me, at ShiftyHJP is my Twitter. That's my main handle. You can find me on Twitch at ShiftyHJP as well. But check out AGN__ events. That is the organization where I call my home as of right now in terms of commentating. If you ever want to stop by and say hello, you just stop by and say hello. So again, thanks to everybody from Stay Plugged In too. That was awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for the thanks. That means a lot to us because we love that feedback as we try to continue to really bring that holistic approach to esports to expand the entire industry as much as that we possibly can with what we have underneath our belt. So once again, to all our viewers, thank you for joining in and listening. Awesome podcast here. Really should go check out Hunter and Shifty more. Get his views on a little more topics. Hopefully we can get you another podcast soon, a longer one, so we can expand on all these ideas.
Let me know, man. I'll be around. I'll be here.
100%. Lastly, to everyone out there, stay healthy and stay happy in these current very difficult times with the current COVID-19 pandemic. And ultimately, stay plugged in.